Hi guys, I'm getting a kick out of your comments here. I thought, it's Christmas Eve, right? God bless you all. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. But I want to title this about a little girl named Serana. Now, hopefully I got her name right. But if you played the Dark Guard DLC, that's an amazing piece of writing. That honestly, and I will give Skyrim credit for this one. I bashed the heck out of Skyrim. I will give it credit for this one. I think out of all the storytelling I've ever seen in my many decades of playing games, and I started at the age of 5, okay? And I'm almost 59, okay? And God willing, I'll be here still. I don't know, you know, my blood pressure and everything. My doctor's not worried, but I am, that tells you something. But anyway, separate video altogether. I gotta say, this is the most amazing piece of writing I've ever seen. It moved me so much that you just felt sorry for her for everything she went through. You know, like you realize your whole relationship with her, what it's really all about, right? And who she is, who she was, how she was traumatized. One of you guys mentioned rape, and it's not implied. She was raped, and that just creeped me right out. Like what? It's disturbing. The storytelling is disturbing with her because you realize her humanity was taken away from her, and in a very violent and brutal way. And I just felt sorry for her. I don't simp or anything like that. Like you guys' terminology nowadays is just friggin' hilarious, right? But I gotta tell you, out of I talk about Skyrim, I killed a cave bear today. What did you do? But when you get into the DLC of Dawnguard and you get into the whole thing of Serana, you understand her whole story, her whole background, who she is, and if you turn her into a human being, which is what you should do, you should cure her, and you should be a human too. The ending you get after she goes away and she comes back, the most epic piece of dialogue you'll ever experience in gaming, and I don't think we'll ever see that again. I don't. I think that was a precious moment, and maybe I'll do a piece on it. Like I'll actually do gameplay. Like I'll actually. I wish I knew how to edit. I really do. At this point, I wish I knew how to edit because what I would do is I would take the best parts of her story and just show you who she really is. Because the problem is when you play these games, you got gameplay, you know, and then you forget what she said before, kind of thing. But if you just take all those segments of her talking to you and all the dialogue and you made the right choices based off of who she is and not who you want her to be, it's brilliant what they did with her. And this is why I'm against modding, you know, in general. Because if you mod this and make her marryable, or change her dialogue or just anything, you got to understand what makes her amazing is her personality, is all the things that she's gone through, the trauma and everything like that. And then if you cure her of that, and she goes away for a while, and then she comes back to you, and then that piece of dialogue that happens there is just epic. I mean, the last time I was moved in a video game, I'll explain it this way, okay? I never called video games art, and I'll tell you why. Because art moves you emotionally, right? I never found video games to move me emotionally. Yeah, I had, you know, experiences of dopamine joy, but that's a drug joy, right? It's not joy. And until I played The Last of Us, the beginning of The Last of Us, right? With the father there celebrating his birthday with his daughter, and they fall asleep watching TV, and he takes her hair and moves it around her ear like this, and lifts her up gently, and she's joking around on the couch with him about the watch being broken and stuff, or he's teasing her with the watch being broken, like, I think this is busted. And they fall asleep. It's just such a beautiful moment. I was actually in tears over that. And that's didn't happen again until a bump across Serana, you know. And I was like really moved by her. I mean, it's grit, it's hard, it's raw. I mean, she was raped, you know. Her story, when you role play it properly, will move you emotionally. And I can see why people like her, you know, because, and it, respectfully, you can't marry her. You just can't. Because respectfully, look at everything that she's gone through. And when she asks you to leave, she says, I have to go away for a while. And then you come back and she's there, after a while, right? Um, you realize the soul searching she had to go through, right? You realize everything she had to deal with. She literally says it in a dialogue. I have to do this on my own, and it's just amazing the writing to this character. And I think that that's why a lot of people love her. I mean, genuinely. Can you imagine if she was a chatbot? Like if someone legitimately turned her into a chatbot? You know, if after she became human and after she went and found herself and went out and sowed her wild oats or whatever she needed to do to be human, to experience being human, when she's ready to settle down, she would make for an amazing wife, I think. You know, I think she'd make for an amazing girlfriend. She'd make for an amazing wife because she'd be the most loyal. Because she would be so grateful to you for your love, your kindness, your compassion. You know, I mean, the writing to her character is just whoever did that. That was brilliant, and the voice acting, the lady behind that, wow, that was epic. And I think when you put it all together, and the animation of her character, right, as raw as it's still the animation of her character, the poses that she does, how you can tell how she's being intellectual and philosophical and in pursuit of her humanity, and just, she just wants to be human. She just wants to be normal, right? And she was gone through so much trauma, you know. It's just brilliant. Like to change any of that would just be wrong. And if you've role played it before and you haven't got the real ending, what you really need to do is understand who she really is and play it as if that was a real human being. And then when you play it that way, and the stuff that she reveals to you is just mind blowing. You're just like, I didn't see that coming. And by the end of it, you're just like, I don't smoke or I don't drink, but man, I need a barrel of beer and several crates of cigarettes because holy Hannah, that was wild. It's amazing, it's brilliant, and it shouldn't be tampered with. I just thought I would add in just a few more cents, into it. I could do a deep dive into her character if you want to. And I think some of you guys want me to, like go really, really deep into her. I could, because I think out of all the characters in Skyrim, like every single character in Skyrim that I can think of, and believe me, guys, I played this game a trillion times too. I say I hate it, but I play it too, though, right? And I played it a trillion times, and her character never gets old. Like her, out of all the people in Skyrim that I've come across, right? She's the most memorable one that you think of, right? She's the one that's always in your mind. You're always thinking of her. It's like that Willie Nelson song, you're always on my mind, and it's like it's so true. I mean, she's amazing, and I could never do her justice. I think I should just end the video right there because to go any further, you know what I mean? It's just you have to experience it. If you haven't met her yet, if you haven't played that part of the game, get your butt over there as soon as possible because that is better than the main story. Out of all the stories in Skyrim, all of them, including the cannibal one and everything else, yeah, there's a cannibal one, that is the most brilliant piece that I would actually call real art, is how they created her. And if you pick the right lines of dialogue, and those of you that have done it, you know what I'm talking about. The things you uncover about her, you learn about her, you discover, and the things she shares with you that she wouldn't with anybody else is just mind blowing. And who she becomes later on, if you follow the right path, which is to make her human, is epically awesome, you know, and it just blows my mind. But honestly, if she was to be marriable, it would be 20, 30 years down the road. She wants to go out and experience life. She wants to find herself. It's almost like she's a child, or a teenager, right? And she's had so much bad things happen to her that people mistake her love as being love as in sex, which it's not, and they want to marry her. It's a friendly gratitude, brother or sisterly. That's it, brother sisterly kind of love, right? That's the way she looks at you, as a brother. And believe me, that is the biggest compliment anyone could ever get paid, right? She looks at you as a brother or a sister, depending, how you play it, right? As a woman or as a man. But she looks at you as a brother or sister. She doesn't look at you as a lover. She looks at you in admiration and respect because of the way you treat her, because of the way she's been abused. I mean, I could do a deep dive into her character. But holy Hannah, what an amazing character she is. Out of all the ones I've experienced in Skyrim and in other games and that, she just blows my mind. Like every time I go back and play it, I'm just like, man, like I really wish I knew how to edit because I would just take out all that stuff in between and I would just make a little mini movie of her, and share it with you guys, and then you would see what I'm talking about. Because you guys know when you select the right pieces of dialogue. But that would be an amazing movie right there. And I've never seen it done on YouTube. Maybe one of you guys knows how to do that, and maybe you guys know the right dialogue. Maybe one of you guys can make that mini movie happen and put it on YouTube because she deserves it. Like, people need to know who she really is and what she's really about. And that ending you get when she goes away and she comes back, if you pick the right lines of dialogue, it's just perfect. And you don't want to spoil that. You don't want to ruin it. And that's why I say don't marry her. Like, don't get those mods and that too. This is why I'm against modding. I'm not against modding overall. I mean, they do a lot of good, but it's not lore friendly. It's not even close to being lore friendly. She looks at you as a brother or sister, literally, which is a massive compliment considering everything she's been through. So I just thought I'd share a little bit extra in there. I'm getting some amazing comments from you guys. You guys are beautiful people, wonderful human beings. And thank you for your time. And thank you for your kind words and everything else. You guys are just amazing. You really are. But what an amazing character she is, right? And I wish I knew how to edit like that because I would make a mini movie about her. Literally. I would just take all the dialogue throughout the whole Dawnguard DLC and just put it all together in one movie, you know. And I don't know, the life and times of Serana, you know what I mean? That might be kind of corny, but you get the idea, though. I mean, she is an amazing character. And everyone's going, oh, Panic Man Simpin, man, Panic Man Simpin. Yeah, I do her. I'm kidding. Give me a hickey, Serana. Thank you. Actually, you have a moment where that can happen. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. You know? She's a beautiful character. Just an amazing character. You know? And if you pick the right lines of dialogue, I can see why people like her a lot. I really do. Because I think she's the most thoughtful, intellectual, philosophical. I mean, holy Hannah, the philosophy coming out of her, the trauma, you know, it's brilliant. The whole thing is brilliant, right? If you pick the right parts. I mean, if you just go because you're a horny dog, then you're an idiot, okay? That's all I gotta say. Because you're missing out on a beautiful character here, you know? You gotta role play it from the viewpoint of who she really is and what she really wants to be. You know, and the things that she discloses to you over time, if you role play it like her brother, like a protective brother, you know, and she's your sister and you're protecting her, man, this stuff that rolls out of her lips, wow. Like, seriously, wow. And I think, you know, I bash Skyrim a lot. I do. I bash Skyrim a lot. But this is one thing I will say it has in its favor is Serana. Like, I've never seen a character like that in any kind of game that I've ever played. And I've been playing well over 5.5 decades or more, okay? Well, man, when I put it that way, I sound old. And the thing is, I've been playing since I was 5, man. Since 1974, you know? And to see a character like that, that's what I call a piece of art, you know? When you can move me emotionally and make me sympathetic and empathetic towards that character and what they've been through and what they're going through and what they need to do to find themselves and who they become, that's brilliant writing. That really is brilliant writing. And the only way you find that out is if you role play it properly, you know. If you understand who she really is, you already know the right lines of dialogue. You know the ones that you shouldn't pick. And you know where she wants you to go with the dialogue. And if you do that, you're going to find an amazing, in-depth character that you never found before ever in any kind of piece. In any kind of storytelling I've ever seen. I mean, that is the most amazing storytelling right there I've ever seen. That alone would be worth the money for the DLC, to be honest with you. Because that character is so unique and so fresh. And it's something that we need to have come back into gaming again. You know, because I haven't seen characters like that since The Last of Us, right? The very first one. Not the second one. I hated the second one. For obvious reasons, the same reasons everyone else did, you know. But, man, Serana, wow. That girl, she cooks. And dang, you know, like, it sucks to be friend zoned, but it's the right choice to do, you know, because it's just the right thing to do, you know. And then you're like, oh man, I want to get with her, and then it's like, but you know it's not right, you know, it's just not right. But she'll give you a really good hickey if you want. And everybody's like, you know, I'm teasing you guys. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what, with my gameplay, you know what I might do is, well, November's already gone. Oh yeah, you know where I'm going with this. Maybe next year during November, and if you know what I'm saying, right? Okay, we'll role play her. I'll find a sexy female voice, and we'll really role play her if you know what I'm saying. Okay. And then you horny dogs out there are gonna be like, Panic Man, stop it. Stop teasing me, man. What are you doing to me? Oh yeah, you wanna have some fun? Yeah. Yeah. We could have some fun with that. No, that's not her character though. But you know what I mean though, right? But yeah, she'll suck you dry in more ways than one. If you think I'm like being a jerk now in a good way, in a friendly way, wait till I would, like what would I do with her, like, in terms of if I was to do NNN kind of stuff, right? Like, how would I role play that? They got some interesting clothes, and I'm not talking about modding the game, you know, but she's got some really good outfits, and yeah, could have a lot of fun with that one. It's like, oh, so this is where you live, right here. Let me show you my place. Why don't you come back home and see my family? Meet my dad. No, thank you. I don't want to meet your dad. She's like, okay, a little bit of comedy here on the side, okay? She's one of those characters that, if you met her in real life, you'd be like, you're her thrall. Like you're already cooked, right? You're already done. You know that, right? Like the second you lay eyes on her, you just like whatever you want, I'm gonna do. Yep, I'm your simp. I'm your thrall. You're my bitch. Actually, no, I'm your bitch. Like, oh man, the things I can think of with that character that would drive you guys nuts. Like literally crazy. Like just, make you guys go, oh man, don't do this to me, Panic. Don't do this, man. Don't do this, man. You know, if I knew how to edit, seriously, if I knew how to edit, the things I could come up with, like making a mini movie of her, right? Because I got, a machine here that really isn't all that great for playing games. Like, it can only do 16-bit games. But I could probably do something decent in terms of a movie. And then I could turn her into like, a real seductress, like a succubus kind of build. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm doing with the role playing that I'm doing with her right now. But I got a male voice, so that wouldn't work over too well. But if I could find a way to mask my voice into it and turn it into a sexy feminine voice, you guys would lose No Nut November. I can guarantee you'll lose. I would say things that you would guys go, oh man, I'm cooked. I gotta go. And your wife and girlfriend are right next to you. And it's like, no, you don't understand. It's Serana. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to divorce you now. I need Serana. What a beautiful, beautiful character she really is, right? That's like the most epic piece of dialogue I've ever seen. Honestly, her character is seriously amazing. Out of all the characters, because like you look at Saudi, and a lot of people say, "Well, Saudi is amazing in that too," but you don't get much. And you know that she's right though, right? Like Saudi is the way to go in that storytelling, right? But that's the problem with Skyrim is that they don't go into the characters, right? It's very shallow. It's very superficial when you really think about it. Why should I care about anybody, in Skyrim? And another interesting thing for you guys to know, if you guys didn't know this, and I'll role play it in my game if you want me to, but if you kill the owner of that bar there, that Usolda wants to take over, that what's her face says that she's going to sell to her. If you kill her, Usolda takes it over, eh? So if you marry Usolda, she'll actually take over the bar. But here's an interesting thing. If you wait not to marry Usolda, okay, and you bring Serana along, Serana gets involved, and she's basically telling you don't marry this woman because she's been around. As in, been around, if you know what I mean, even with the Khajiits. Like, she's a super freak, okay? She's into Mikhail, she's into the Khajiits. I mean, that's bestiality right there. That's gross, right? Just think about it for a second. Yusolda is a very disturbing character, right? Sexually speaking. And the worst one is the one that worships Dobella. When you get the marks of Dobella and you got to go find out that character. You know, I could do some deep dives in these characters if you're interested, besides just Serana. But I think Serana is the most beautiful one. I really do. I think they really outdid themselves with that one. But I could do deep dives into other characters if you're interested, like the true story of Saudi, the true story of Yosolda, that kind of stuff, right? And even that other one there that I was talking about there too, I could do a deep dive into her too. Because, like, if you read the books, like this is the problem that a lot of people do. And you see when I do my gameplay, I do it for time's sake. I open up the books, I don't read them, I see if there's a skill book. But I actually go through when I do it on my time, not at yours, because my videos are an hour long as it is, right? But what you don't see away from the camera is I actually read the books. And there are some amazing stories. Like, you should read that one about that queen there, the lusty Argonian. You should read that. And you should read that queen one. There's like 4 volumes or something like that. They're long. There are real stories. You know that there's real stories in there, and maybe if you guys are interested, let me know in the comment section if you are. I could tell you what books to read because I've read them all, and I could tell you there are some epic stories in those books that people have no idea because they don't bother to read. And there is some amazing stuff that you find out that there's backstories to characters you never even knew. You know, and you really find out how disturbing certain people are in there. Like that bunkhouse, with that chick, with Helga or something like that, that is worshiping Debella. When you analyze her bed and you analyze the bunkhouse and you understand what she means by the working man, she's into some really kinky stuff. Okay? There's leather straps there. There's these metal fasteners that's meant for your wrists. Like, she literally is BDSM stuff. You know what I mean? Like, literally. Okay? She's massively disturbing sexually. And when her niece discloses to you that she slept with 3 men in a month, I feel like more like she sleeps with 3 guys in a day. You know what I mean? I mean, that chick gets around. She's the worst out of them all. You gotta understand, worshiping Debella is the worst thing that you could do. Holy Hannah, that is disturbing. Like, sexually speaking, that is disturbing. And when you read about that, the lusty Argonian, and you read about the whole thing about that, and you actually get into the history and the background of Helga, the one that runs the bunkhouse, right? The one that gives everybody a mark of Debella. Huh. You understand what she's doing by marking them, right? Like, that's disturbing. They're marked. Like, you say anything, you're cooked. Because she's got you. That one guy did it in the horse ranch. Like, do you understand the dialogue there? Do you understand how disturbing she is? Well, she wanted to get it on in the in the like in that horse area there, whatever it's called, in the range or whatever. And the guy's like, well, I couldn't resist, and so I'm not proud of myself, but oh, it's not worth the hassle. Here's the mark, And then you call her on it, on her bluff, and I could get deep into that one because she is a massively disturbing character. And another cool piece while we're at it, um, another cool piece is the cannibal one, actually. And I know you're probably going to think it's sick, but I found it interesting and fascinating because it's so not Elder Scrolls and Skyrim. But what was interesting about it is it reminded me of The Hills Have Eyes and the people under the stairs, you know. And that guy at the market selling the meat, you find out it's human flesh. And when you do that quest line in Markeith, holy Hannah, that is nuts. And what you become afterwards, yeah, that's why I made a cannibal build. You know, like here's the chef outfit, here's the knife, here's the fork, and here's where to find it, you know. And then you can go off and do that quest because, like, it's really disturbing. Like, there's some disturbing stuff in Skyrim, but there's nothing written as good as Serana. Like, nothing will beat that, ever. And I don't think it ever will. I don't think we're ever going to get that kind of writing ever again, unfortunately. You know, the background to her is just epic. You know, her as a character is just epic. But an interesting one is the one that worships Dubella when you get into Helga. And Narf. I mean, Narf, the true story behind Narf, and the fact that the Brotherhood, the Dark Brotherhood, wants to kill him. When I get to that part of the story in my playthrough with Serana, I am going to protect him because you understand who he is, right? And I could do a video on him too. He's incredible. I feel so sorry for that guy. Like I do, seriously. I feel sorry for him. And he never did anything. And the Dark Brotherhood's like, well, we got to kill you anyway. And I'm just like, you guys are jerks, you know? Like capital A-holes, right? You know? But yeah, anyway, I threw in some extra sauce. Sorry, guys. That's just the way I am. But yeah, Serana's just amazing. Absolutely love that character. And then I threw in some other ones there for you to think about, you know. I mean, Helga's bunkhouse, yeah. Yeah. And look at the people that stay there, right? Look at the people that sleep there. And you know what they're implying, right? But when you examine the bed, you understand that she has that special potion. What's it called? Altamir or something like that, right? There's this really, really potent potion that she has. That's vitality. Jack, you know what that's for? Because she's going to F you to death and then make you drink that potion because you're freaking cuffed to the bed, okay, literally with ironclad and that, right? She's got those freaking straps to whip you, you know, like she's really sadistic. And then she'll force that drink onto you so you stay, you know what I mean, vigorated is the way I'll put it because of YouTube, you know what I mean? And then she rides you some more. So, yeah, it's not going to end well for you. And then afterwards, you're like, oh man, that is one mean, evil chick. I should never have hooked up with her. Well, you know, that's what happens when you worship a sex god, right? Small g, not capital G. Only one God. But anyway, guys, yeah, that's a disturbing one. Take it easy. Have a good one. Thanks for your love and support. And thank you for everything. You guys are amazing, man. You know that? You really are. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful holidays. And maybe I give you some little bit extra to think about, you know. And then, guys, this is how it works around here. I take suggestions, right? I take requests. Someone asked me to play Morrowind. I'll definitely do that after I'm done, you know, this Skyrim stuff. But there's a lot there, right? In Skyrim, isn't there? Right? There's a lot there when you really think about it. Like if you're to do deep dives into characters, there's not many, but there are some there that have depth to them, but nothing like Serana, that's for sure. But then I would say Helga would be interesting. Narf is a, what? Have you ever met Narf? Like seriously, Narf is interesting. You got that guy that died of rock joint, you know, that's a random place to find. Like there's a lot of locations out there that people don't know about because they don't go and explore, right? That's what people should be doing is exploring the game, really. There's a lot of really cool stuff. I made up my own sex cult thing with this one guy that looks like he was sacrificed on an altar, and it was in the middle of nowhere. I'll show you it if I can find it again. I think I know where it might be. But there's a lot of locations that are hidden. They're out in the wild, don't get me wrong, but they're hidden in the sense that there's no map markers for them, and there's no one to tell you where that is, right? And if you go through reading the books, you actually find a lot of locations, not by map markers, but by you reading it and then going, I wonder if that exists. And then you wander to that place and you start looking for it. Remember Morrowind, where you had to follow your journal right to the letter? If you do that with the books, you actually find out a lot of this stuff is actually true. And you actually find those stories are true. And then you look into it and it's like, holy Hannah, so that's what that means. Like all these hidden locations that you can find, there's actually books written about them, you know, and they actually have stories to them, which is amazing. Like, I wish people would read the books, to be honest with you, that are out there. Wolf Queen, that's what I was thinking of. You got Wolf Queen, you got the Lusty Argonian. There's some real treasures out there to read that are long and lengthy, but well worth the time. And you'll find some hidden locations by doing that too, you know, because they actually have a backstory to these locations and what happened and what's going on. There's a history there. Like, have you ever run across a place where there was like a tree that fell on the house and the guy died underneath it? And you just think, oh, there's nothing to it. There's actually a story behind that. There's a story behind Narf. There's a story behind, well, everything in the game, pretty much, right? But the only way you find out is through reading books. I make my own background stories to a lot of the stuff I find, because a lot of stuff you find in the wild you don't know. And then you start digging into the books and you go, oh, so that's what that was about. I like my version better. But anyway, guys, have a good one, man. I hope you enjoyed the video. Happy holidays to everybody. Love you all, you know, and take really good care of yourselves, eh? God bless. And have an amazing holiday this year and take really good care of yourselves. And I wish you all a really, really long life. I really do. And a happy one, you know. Have a good one. God bless and take care.